Vue.js explained for software engineers. Introduction. Vue.js is a progressive JavaScript framework used to build modern web user interfaces. Software engineers often learn Vue.js to build single-page applications, admin dashboards, front-end clients for APIs, full-stack applications, SaaS dashboards, mobile responsive web apps, internal tools, e-commerce front-ends, Spring Boot API-connected UIs. A common learning topic is, how can software engineers understand Vue.js step by step? This guide explains. Check. Vue.js basics. Project setup, components, templates, directives, reactivity, composition API, props, events, routing, API integration, Pinia state management, Vue plus Spring Boot integration, deployment, best practices, interview questions. Vue describes itself as an approachable, performant, and versatile framework for building web user interfaces. Vue builds on standard HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, with an intuitive API and a reactive rendering system. Simple definition. Vue.js is a front-end framework for building interactive web applications. Simple idea. User opens browser, drop-down, Vue app loads, Vue component displays UI, user clicks button, Vue updates state, UI updates automatically. Full stack example. Vue.js frontend, Spring Boot REST API, PostgreSQL database. Why software engineers learn Vue.js? Software engineers learn Vue.js because it is a cat, beginner-friendly, a lightweight, component-based, reactive, easy to integrate, good for dashboards, good for full-stack projects, easier to start than some larger frameworks, powerful enough for production apps. Backend developers learn Vue because they already understand REST APIs, JSON, authentication, DTOs, database-backed systems, business workflows. Vue helps backend developers become full-stack developers. Vue.js versus React versus Angular. Feature. Vue.js, React Angular. Type, framework library, full framework. Language, JavaScript, TypeScript. JavaScript, TypeScript. TypeScript. Learning curve, friendly, medium, higher. Template style, HTML-like templates, JSX, HTML templates. State management, Pinia, Redux/Zustand, services/RxJS. React Router, Angular Router, best for fast full-stack UI, flexible UI apps, enterprise apps. Simple rule. Vue is a good choice when you want simple syntax, fast development, and clean component structure. Typical Vue app architecture. Component, template, reactive state, service API call, backend API. Full stack architecture. Vue component, API service, Spring Boot controller, service layer, repository, database. Step 1. Create Vue project. Use the official Vue scaffolding tool. npm create Vue at latest. Then, cd my Vue app, npm install, npm run dev. Vue's official quick start says, this command installs and runs create Vue, the official Vue project scaffolding tool. Step 2. Understand Vue project structure. Typical Vue project. My Vue app, Sark, assets, components, views, router, views, stores, app.vue, main.js, package.json, vite.config.js, index.html. Important files. File, folder purpose, app.vue, root Vue component, main.js, app startup file, components, reusable UI components, views, page-level components, router, route configuration, stores, Pinia stores, assets, images, CSS, static assets. Step 3. Understand single-file component. Vue commonly uses .vue files. Example. Template. H1. Hello Vue. H1. Script setup. Const message equals welcome. Style scoped. H1. Color blue. A.vue file usually has /template script style. Simple idea. Template equals HTML. Script equals logic. Style equals CSS. Step 4. Understand components. Components are reusable UI pieces. Vue's official guide explains that components allow developers to split UI into independent and reusable pieces, often organized as a tree of nested components. Example: template, button class primary button, save. Use component, primary button. Examples of components: check button, check card, check navbar, sidebar, check table, modal, check login form, check product card. Step 5. Template syntax. Vue templates look like normal HTML with Vue features. Example: template h1 x title dot h1 template. Script setup: const title equals Vue dashboard. Output: Vue dashboard. Sigma is interpolation. It displays JavaScript values in the template. Step 6. Reactive state with ref. Ref creates reactive state. Template: button at click, count plus plus, count, button template. Script setup: import ref from Vue. Const count equals ref 0, meaning when count changes, Vue automatically updates the UI. Vue's reactivity system allows state changes to automatically trigger DOM updates. Step 7. Reactive object with reactive. Reactive creates a reactive object. Template: p user name, p user email. Import reactive from Vue. Const user equals reactive name John, email john@example.com. Use ref for strings, numbers, booleans, arrays, simple values. Use reactive for SIR objects, grouped state, form state. Step 8. Event handling. Vue uses @click for click events. Template: button @click login. Script setup: function login. Console.log login clicked. Other events: input @input handle input, form @submit prevent submit form. Prevent means prevent default browser submit behavior. Step 9. Two-way binding with vModel. vModel binds input value to state. Template: input vModel email placeholder email, p email p. Script setup: import ref from Vue. Const email equals ref IP. Flow: user types in input. Email state updates. UI updates automatically. Step 10. Conditional rendering. Use v-if. Template: p v-if is logged in. Welcome back. Please log in. Script setup: import ref from Vue. Const is logged in equals ref false. Use cases: check loading message, check error message, check login logout state, check empty state, check role-based UI. Step 11. List rendering. Use v4. Template: ul live v4 user and users key user ID username. Script setup: const users equals name John, name Mary. Important: always use a stable key with v4. Step 12. Attribute binding. Use : for dynamic attributes. Template: image.src profile image URL alt profile. Script setup: const profile image URL equals https://profile.png. Class binding. Div class equals active menu item div. Step 13. Props. Props pass data from parent to child. Child component. Table div h2 email p email p. Script setup: define props, name string, email string. Parent component. User card named John, email, john@example.com. Use props for check reusable components, card data, table rows, configuration, UI customization. Step 14. Emits. Emits send events from child to parent. Child. Template. Button at click. $emit save. Save button. Script setup. Define emits save. Parent. Save button at save handle save. Flow. Child button clicked. Child emits save event. Parent handles event. Step 15. Computed properties. Computed creates derived state. Template. P. Total. Total. P. Script setup. Import. Computed ref. From Vue. Const price equals ref 50. Const quantity equals ref 2. Const total equals computed that'll return price.value times quantity.value. Use computed for totals, filtered lists, formatted names, derived UI values, calculated status. Step 16. Watchers. Watch reacts to state changes. Script setup. Import ref watch from Vue. Const search text equals ref s. Watch search text. New value. Console log. Search changed. New value. Use watchers for curse. Search input changes. Route parameter changes. Saving preferences. Reacting to API-related state.
Avoid overusing watchers.
Use computed when you only need derived values. Step 17. Composition API. The Composition API lets developers write Vue component logic using imported functions such as ref, reactive, computed, and lifecycle hooks. Vue's guide explains that Composition API is centered around declaring reactive state in function scope and composing state from multiple functions. Example. Script setup. Import ref from Vue. Const count equals ref 0. Function increment. Count.value++. Template. Template. Button at click increment. Count $button. Template. Step 18. Options API versus Composition API. Feature. Options API, Composition API style. Data, methods, computed, ref, reactive, functions. Beginner friendly, very friendly. Slightly more flexible. Large components can become split by option type. Grouped by feature. Reusable logic mixins, composables. Composables modern Vue. Still supported. Common in new Vue apps. Options API example. Script. Export, default, data, return, count, 0. Methods, increment, this count, ++. Composition API example. Script setup. Import ref from Vue. Const count equals ref 0. Function increment. Count.value++. Step 19. Lifecycle hooks. Lifecycle hooks run at different component stages. Example. Script setup. Import onMounted from Vue. OnMounted as is. Component mounted. Common hooks. Hook purpose. OnMounted after component appears. OnUpdated after reactive update. OnUnmounted before component removed. Use cases. Initialize charts. Start timers. Cleanup listeners. Initialize charts. Step 20. API calls.
Example using fetch.
Template. PVIF is loading. Loading. PVIF error. Error. UL. V4. User in users. Key. User.id. Username. L. Script setup. Import onMounted ref from Vue. Const users equals ref. Const is loading equals ref. False. Const error ref null. Async function load users. Is loading.value equals true. Error.value equals null. Try. Const response equals await fetch. http://localhost 8080/API users. If not response OK. Throw new error failed to load users. Users.value equals await response.json. Catch error. error.value equals error message. Finally, is loading.value equals false. On mounted, load users. Script, step 21. API service layer, better structure. src:services, user service.js, views, users view.view. Service. src services, user service.js, const, API base URL equals http://localhost 8080/API. Export async function get users. Const response equals await fetch API base URL users. If not response.ok, throw new error, failed to load users. Return response JSON component. Script setup. Import unmounted ref from Vue. Import get users from @/services user service. Const users equals ref if. On-mounted async equals users value await get users y. Cleaner components. Reusable API logic. Easier testing. Easier backend URL management. Step 22. Vue Router. Vue Router is the official router for Vue.js. Vue Router describes itself as the official router for Vue.js and supports expressive configurable routing for Vue apps. Install. npm install Vue Router. Routes. Import create router, create web history from Vue Router. Import home view from @views homeview.view. Import users view from @views usersview.view. Const routes equals path 0 component home view, path zeros component users view. Export const router equals create router, history create web history, routes. Register. Import create app from Vue. Import app from .app view. Import router from .router. Create app, use router, mount, app. Step 23. Router links. Template, nav. Router link to where? Home. Router link to users, users. Router view / template. Meaning, router link equals navigation link. Router view equals where page component renders. Step 24. Route parameters. Route. Path. Users. ID. Component. User detail view. Component. Script setup. Import use route from Vue Router. Const route equals use route. Const user ID equals route.params.id. URL. Users 101. Step 25. Pinia state management. Pinia is the recommended store library for Vue apps. Pinia's documentation describes it as a store library for Vue that lets developers share state across components and pages, with type safety, modular stores, and Vue DevTools integration. Install. npm install Pinia. Register. Import create app from Vue. Import create Pinia from Pinia. Import app from docapp.vue. Create app use create Pinia.mount #app. Step 26. Create Pinia store /src/stores/auth store.js. Import define store from Pinia. Import ref from Vue. Export const use auth store equals define store auth. Const user is ref null. Const access token is ref null. Const is authenticated is ref false. Function login response. User.value equals login response.user. Access token.value equals login response.access token. Is authenticated.value true. Function logout. User value equals null. Access token value equals null. Is authenticated value equals false. Return user access token is authenticated. Login logout. Pinia state can be defined as a function that returns the initial state, and Pinia stores are designed to be modular. Step 27. Use Pinia store template PV if auth is authenticated. Welcome auth username. Button @click auth.logout. Logout. Script setup. Import use auth store from @stores auth store. Const auth equals use aux store. Use Pinia for off state, cart state, user profile, dashboard filters, global notifications, shared API data. Step 28. Vue plus Spring Boot integration. Architecture. Vue frontend, access, Spring Boot REST API, PostgreSQL. Spring Boot API, REST controller, at request mapping, API products, public class, product controller. Get mapping, public list product response, get products. Return list of, new product response 1L, keyboard, new product response 2L, mouse. Vue call. Export async function, get products. Const response is await fetch, HTTP localhost 8080, API products. Return response.json. Step 29, CORS issue. Common error. Access to fetch at http:/localhost 8080 from origin http:/localhost 5173 has been blocked by CORS policy. Cause. Vue dev server runs on one port. Spring Boot API runs on another port. Browser blocks cross-origin request unless backend allows it. Spring Boot fix. Configuration, public class course config. Bean. Public web MVC configurer, course configurer, return new web MVC configurer. Override, public void add course mappings, CORS registry, registry add mapping, /API/. Allowed origins, HTTP localhost 5173. Allowed methods, allowed headers, ... Step 30, JWT auth flow. Typical Vue plus Spring Boot JWT flow. Vue login form, post/API/auth/login. Spring Boot validates credentials, returns JWT access token. Vue stores auth state. Vue sends authorization header. Spring Boot validates token. Header. Authorization, bearer, access token. API helper. Import, use auth store from @stores auth store. Export async function API fetch. URL. Options agree? Const auth is use auth store. Const response equals await fetch URL ... options. Headers. Content type application JSON ... options. Headers ... bearer ... access token ... options. Headers. If not response .ok. Throw new error, API request failed. Return response.json. Step 31, form example. Template, form submit prevent. Submit form. Input vmodel form.name, placeholder product name. Input vmodel form.price, placeholder price. Button, type equals submit, save product. Button, form, template. Script, setup. Import reactive from Vue. Const form equals reactive, name, price, 0. Function submit form. Console.log form. Script. Step 32. Validation example. Template. Form @submit.prevent, submit form. Input vmodel email, placeholder email. V if email error. Button type to submit, submit. Button type to submit, template. Script setup. Import computed ref from Vue. Const email equals ref. Const email error equals computed. If not email.value, return email is required. If email.value includes @ return email is invalid. Return C. Function submit form. If email error value, return. Console.log submit. Important.
Front-end validation improves UX.
Backend validation is still required. Step 33. Build for production. Command. npm run build. Output. Dist. xa. Deployment options. Check. Nginx, Docker, Kubernetes, Netlify, Vercel, AWS S3, plus CloudFront. Spring Boot static resources. Step 34. Dockerize Vue app from Node 22 Alpine as build. Work dir/app. Copy package star.json. Run npm CI. Copy ... Run npm run build. From Nginx, Alpine. Copy ns from build app dist, user share Nginx HTML. Expose 80. Build. Docker build -t view app dot. Run. Docker run -p -808080 view app step 35. Real world project Vue + Spring Boot product dashboard. Features. K. Login. Product list. Product detail. Create product. Update product. Delete product. Search. Pagination. Protected routes. Global auth state. Architecture. Vue.js frontend. Vue Router. Pinia store. API service. Spring Boot. REST API. Recommended view structure. SRC. Components. Card view. Card view. Product table view. Views. Login view. Dashboard view. Products view. Products view.view. Router view. Index.js. Stores. authstore.js. Services. Product service.js. App view. Putting everything in one component. Bad. App.view contains login, dashboard, API calls, forms, table, and state. Better. Split into views, components, services, and stores. Not using in v4. Bad. LIv4 user in users. Better. LIv4 user in users. Key user ID. Username. 3. Confusing ref and reactive. Simple rule. Use ref for simple values. Use reactive for objects. 4. Calling APIs everywhere. Bad. Every component has duplicated fetch logic. Better. Create service layer. Use Pinia when state is shared. 5. Using Pinia for everything. Bad. Every small input field is stored globally. Better. Use local state for local forms. Use Pinia for shared global state. 6. Ignoring loading and error states. Bad. Blank screen while API loads. Better. Show loading, error, and empty states. Best practices. Use Vue 3 for new apps. Learn Composition API. Split UI into components. Use props for parent-to-child data. Use emits for child-to-parent events. Use service layer for APIs. Use Vue Router for pages. Use Pinia for shared state. Keep local state local. Always handle loading error states. Use key with v4. Check. Validate on frontend and backend. Check. Organize by features, views, components. Check. Protect routes when using auth. Check. Use environment variables for API URLs. Check. Build and test production bundle. Vue.js interview questions. 1. What is Vue.js? Vue.js is a progressive JavaScript framework used to build user interfaces and single-page applications. 2. What is a Vue component? A Vue component is a reusable UI block with template, logic, and optional styles. 3. What is a single file component? A Vue file that usually contains template, script, and style sections. 4. What is reactivity in Vue? Reactivity means Vue automatically updates the UI when reactive state changes. 5. What is ref? Ref creates a reactive value. 6. What is reactive? Reactive creates a reactive object. 7. What is vModel? vModel creates two-way binding between form input and state. 8. What is vIf? vIf conditionally renders an element. 9. What is v4? v4 renders a list of items. 10. What are props? Props pass data from parent component to child component. 11. What are emits? Emits send events from child component to parent component. 12. What is Vue Router? Vue Router is the official routing library for Vue.js apps. 13. What is Pinia? Pinia is a state management library for Vue used to share state across components and pages. 14. Vue Composition API versus Options API. Options API organizes code by options like data, methods, and computed. Composition API organizes logic using functions like ref, reactive, and computed. 15. Can Vue work with Spring Boot? Yes. Vue can call Spring Boot REST APIs using fetch or Axios. Vue.js roadmap, beginner level. Learn. C. Vue project setup, components, templates, interpolation, events, vmodel, vif, v4. Build. Simple to-do app, intermediate level. Learn. Composition API, props, emits, computed, watchers, API calls, Vue Router. Build. Multi-page product dashboard, advanced level. Learn. Yes. Pinia, auth-state, protected routes, reusable composables, TypeScript, testing, deployment. Build. Production-ready Vue plus Spring Boot app 30-day learning plan. Week 1. Vue basics. Learn. Project setup, components, templates, ref, events, conditional rendering, list rendering. Practice. Build counter, to-do list, and simple form. Week 2. Components and routing. Learn. Props, emits, computed, watchers, Vue Router, route params. Practice. Build multi-page users app. Week 3. API integration. Learn. Check. Axios, service layer, loading state, error state, Spring Boot API calls, cores. Practice. Build Vue plus Spring Boot CRUD app. Week 4. State and deployment. Learn. Capital Pinia, auth state, protected routes, Docker build, production deployment. Practice. Build full product dashboard with login. Final summary. Vue.js is a practical front-end framework for software engineers building modern web applications. Important concepts include C components, C templates, C reactive state, C ref, C reactive, C vmodel, C vif, C v4, props, emits, computed, watchers, composition API, Vue Router, Pinia, Spring Boot API integration, deployment. Software engineers already understand. Check. APIs, JSON, authentication, database-backed applications, front-end, back-end communication. This makes Vue.js easier to learn as a full-stack skill. Key idea. Vue.js helps developers build clean, reactive, component-based user interfaces that connect easily with back-end APIs like Spring Boot.